the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White, the whole Indiana Fever front office, and more in the WNBA are under FBI investigation.
This is absolute madness. The Indiana Fever, yes, the same team that was supposed to be leading the WNBA into a new era, is now at the center of a full-blown FBI investigation. That's right. Reports are swirling that head coach Stephanie White and the Fever front office are being accused of hiding player injuries and possibly misleading fans and bettors throughout the entire season.
Indiana Fever under investigation for mysterious injuries that never made any sense. None of this stuff made sense. How it played out in the season. They strung people along for a long time. Now, you got the FBI involved. People are wondering, were the higher-ups involved in something that was beyond the fans' eye view?
And if what's coming out is even half true, the WNBA could be staring down one of the biggest scandals in women's sports history. This isn't just about basketball anymore. We're talking mysterious injuries, conflicting reports, and millions in bets and ticket sales that might have been influenced by false information. How does something like this even happen in a professional league? Why did players like Caitlin Clark, Chloe Beebe, and Damiris Dantas all have injuries that didn't add up? And why were fans being told they were day-to-day for months? Something doesn't add up here, and it looks like the FBI finally agrees. This is Her Hoops, and today we're diving deep into the wildest story of the WNBA season.
But there's a lot of questions. The Caitlin Clark injury. What really happened with Chloe Beebe? Did she get a post? She said she had a knee injury. Was there a surgery? What really happened with Damiris Dantas? They said we're gonna get into all of it.
FBI investigates the Indiana Fever. Stephanie White accused of hiding player injuries. Before we break it all down, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe if you're ready for the truth behind this madness. Because what's happening in Indiana might just change how the WNBA handles injuries forever. Let's start from the beginning, where the confusion, the secrecy, and the cover-ups all began. To understand how this storm exploded, you have to rewind back to the start of the Indiana Fever season. Everything looked perfect on paper. Caitlin Clark had just arrived, the most hyped rookie since Diana Taurasi, bringing ratings, fans, and hope to a franchise that had struggled for years. The Fever were supposed to be the league's next big story, but then something strange started happening. Injury after injury, odd timelines, players going day to day for months, and no one could explain why.
She was anticipating that she was about to get to play, and they said no. Why? Did somebody have some interest elsewhere? Did somebody put in a parlay? Did somebody do it? Bruh, something's going on. Something's going on, and the FBI is about to figure it out. Everybody is under the microscope.
First came Caitlin Clark's groin injury. What was supposed to be minor, they said. Day to day, no big deal. But weeks passed, then months. She'd warm up before games, smiling, active, but somehow still not cleared. Fans kept buying tickets, expecting her return. Nothing. Then came Chloe Beebe. She was on fire, knocking down threes, bringing energy off the bench, and suddenly she disappears from the rotation. No explanation, no transparency. And just when fans started asking questions, boom, knee injury, no footage, no surgery, just gone. And it didn't stop there. Damiris Dantas out with a concussion that nobody saw happen. One day she's fine. The next, she's sidelined for over a month. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is on social media dancing, joking, saying she's nursing a back issue, yet she's moving fine. The optics were wild. Fans didn't know what to believe anymore.
People moving around with injuries that's supposed to be hurt and all this stuff. Listen, it's a lot going on. Angel Reese claimed to have a back injury, but she's doing the too small on the sideline, twerking on the planes. I didn't even know there are companies that pay these players to sit out as long as they wear their brand, whether it be Gucci, all types of stuff.
Then came the whispers, not from the league, not from team doctors, but from fans and independent reporters who started connecting dots. Was the Fever intentionally misleading the public about player statuses? Was this a front office problem or something much bigger? And then came the name that made everyone stop and listen, the FBI. Yes, according to multiple sources, federal investigators began looking into whether injury reports were being manipulated to affect betting lines and ticket sales. If that's true, we're not talking about bad communication anymore. We're talking about potential fraud. And guess who's being linked directly to the chaos? Head coach Stephanie White, the same coach who many believed was building a new era in Indiana, might be standing at the center of one of the darkest scandals in league history. And just when it couldn't get any crazier, the media dropped a bombshell involving Stephen A. Smith, Shams Charania, and even government names being tied to the investigation.
We about to get into all of this, man, because this is wild. Let's start right here. Stephen A. Smith is intimating that Donald Trump is targeting the NBA, potentially the WNBA, by increasing the intensity of the FBI investigation into the NBA.
What does Donald Trump have to do with all this? Why is Kash Patel's name being mentioned alongside the FBI and the NBA? Yeah, it's deeper than basketball now. All right, let's break this down step by step, because this situation didn't blow up overnight. It's been building quietly for months inside the Indiana Fever organization. Let's start with the Caitlin Clark timeline. Her rookie season was supposed to be legendary, but early on she tweaked her groin. Nothing serious, right? The team said she was day-to-day, but here's the thing. Nobody is day-to-day for over a month. Every update was vague. She's progressing. She's close. She might be ready for Minnesota. Fans kept waiting, buying tickets, betting on her props, trusting the team's word, but she never played. When you're dealing with thousands of tickets sold and millions in betting lines, that's not a small mistake. That's manipulation territory. Then, Chloe Bebe's situation. She was healthy and contributing, then suddenly pulled from rotation. No bad games, no attitude issues, nothing. Just benched. And after weeks of confusion, we hear knee injury, but no reports of surgery, no rehab footage. She's courtside, dressed up, no limp. Where's the proof? Next, Damiris Dantas. She gets labeled with a concussion, but there's zero evidence it ever happened. No in-game hit, no foul, no replay, just boom, out for a month. And remember, the Fever had already been running low on players. You'd think they'd need her on the floor, but nope, they kept her sidelined. Now, combine that with the fact that gambling on the WNBA has skyrocketed this season, thanks to Caitlin Clark's rise, and suddenly it's not just a coincidence anymore. Because here's the question nobody in the league office wants to answer. Were these injuries real?
Shams reported that director Kash Patel was directly involved with the investigations into the NBA. Now, we heard already Stephen A. Smith say, tell Monica McNugget that the WNBA is next. The WNBA is next. Now the rumors are floating around. The Indiana Fever, were they doing something? Was y'all doing something y'all wasn't supposed to?
Think about it. Misleading the public about injury reports directly impacts betting markets. It changes prop lines. It shifts ticket sales. And if anyone inside the organization profited from that misinformation, then you've crossed into federal crime territory. That's why the FBI's involvement is so serious. They don't show up for bad communication. They show up when money and misrepresentation collide. And according to early whispers, agents are already requesting medical records, team communication logs, and internal reports to track inconsistencies. So yeah, this isn't internet gossip anymore. This is real. This is messy, and it's about to get a whole lot uglier for the Fever if these reports hold up. But here's the thing, none of this blew up on its own. Somebody pushed it into the spotlight, and that somebody might just be Stephen A. Smith, because when he opened his mouth, this story took a whole new turn.
Really think about it. Caitlin Clark gets a groin injury early in the year. For weeks, even with the first groin injury, they kept saying day to day. Nobody is day to day with an injury for a month. They did that with the first groin injury. Then we move on. The second time the groin happens, what did they say? Day to day, day to day, day to day. They kept letting people buy tickets.
Now here's where everything explodes. The players' injuries were already suspicious, but the story detonated the moment Stephen A. Smith opened his mouth on national TV. Out of nowhere, Stephen A. looks Monica McNutt dead in the eye and says, the WNBA is next. Next for what exactly? That one sentence set off alarms across the entire league. Fans were confused, insiders went silent, and within hours, reporters like Shams Charania started whispering about federal involvement. According to leaks, Kash Patel, a former national security official connected to the Trump administration, was reportedly overseeing parts of the FBI's Sports Integrity Initiative, the same program investigating NBA betting irregularities. And if that's true, then yes, the WNBA is officially under that same microscope. Now, let's connect the dots. Stephen A. Smith hints the WNBA's next. Shams reports Patel's team is digging into the NBA. Suddenly, Indiana Fever, the league's golden franchise because of Caitlin Clark, is smack in the middle of it all. Coincidence or cleanup? Because remember, the Fever weren't just a basketball story this season. They were the marketing engine of the league. Ticket sales, sponsorships, TV ratings, everything skyrocketed because of Caitlin Clark. So if the Fever were intentionally misleading fans, keeping Clark day to day just to sell seats and boost engagement, that's not just unethical, that's corporate fraud. And if people inside the organization were profiting off those lies through betting markets, that's criminal. Now, here's the contradiction that's driving everyone insane. Caitlin Clark herself reportedly said she was ready to play. Stephanie White claimed it was a medical decision. Yet insiders close to the team said Clark was furious behind the scenes, believing she was being held out for reasons beyond health. Let that sink in. The league's most valuable player sidelined not by injury, but by strategy. Meanwhile, the Fever kept telling the media, "We're being cautious." Really? Cautious for 2 months while fans bought tickets expecting her return? And get this, multiple independent journalists started getting conflicting updates from the team's own PR staff. One said it was her ankle, another said it wasn't, and the head coach herself gave 3 different explanations within 2 weeks. That's not confusion, that's damage control. Now the tension's boiling over. FBI subpoenas, team doctors being questioned, and fans demanding answers as #Fevergate trends on social media. It's not just the team that's under fire. The WNBA leadership itself is being criticized for staying silent, because if they knew what was happening and didn't intervene, that's complicity. At this point, it's not just about who lied, it's about who benefited. Now it's time to dig into the real machinery behind this mess, because this isn't just about fake injuries or bad PR. It's about money, influence, and control.
Buying tickets, but all types of stuff. This stuff is deep now, you guys. It is deep. We don't know what they were really doing, and the fact that none of it ever made sense. Really think about it. None of it ever made sense. I think we played the Minnesota Lynx, I want to say 3 times within a...
Here's what most fans don't realize. Every single injury update in the WNBA has financial implications. Sportsbooks rely on it. Ticket resellers rely on it. Even corporate sponsors time their campaigns around star players being on the floor. So when the Indiana Fever listed Caitlin Clark as day-to-day for 2 straight months, that wasn't just a mistake. That was data manipulation. Every false update inflated betting odds, boosted ticket sales, and drove social engagement. Let's talk about those betting markets for a second. Ever since the WNBA partnered with multiple sportsbook companies in 2022, injury transparency has been under federal watch. When players are misreported as active or expected to return, it directly affects millions in wagers. So if the FBI is sniffing around the Fever, it's because they suspect someone benefited from those false timelines. Maybe it was a front office insider leaking updates. Maybe it was a partner brand trying to stretch Caitlin's absence to build hype for her return. Or maybe, and this is where things get ugly, maybe someone inside the team was in on it. Now let's look at Stephanie White, the head coach in question. White's job was supposed to be rebuilding this roster around Clark, but somewhere along the way, her decisions started raising eyebrows. Take Chloe Beebe's benching. She's hot, she's hitting shots, then suddenly she's glued to the sideline before being ruled out entirely. No MRI reports, no surgery details, but somehow her sponsorship visibility goes up while she's sitting courtside in designer fits. That's where a new theory starts forming. Could corporate sponsors be quietly paying sideline players to maintain visibility, as long as they keep wearing their brands during games and media appearances? If true, that's a massive conflict of interest, because now the incentive isn't to get healthy, it's to stay out. The same whispers surfaced with Angel Reese. She said she had a back issue, but fans spotted her traveling, dancing, doing 2 small celebrations on planes. Meanwhile, media outlets kept labeling her questionable instead of healthy. healthy. Some insiders claim certain marketing deals reward off-court engagement just as much as game performance, meaning if you're trending on social media while technically injured, that's still a win for the sponsor and a loss for the fans. And who's caught in the middle? Caitlin Clark, because she's the face of this league, the player every brand, broadcaster, and owner relies on to bring in money. If the Fever did stretch her absence to keep suspense high, to keep tickets selling, or to manipulate betting odds, then she's not just a victim. She's the bait in the biggest business trap the WNBA has ever seen, and the FBI knows it. That's why this investigation isn't limited to the Fever locker room. They're reportedly pulling emails, medical clearances, and financial transactions tied to sponsorship payouts and betting partnerships. Because this isn't about one coach or one player anymore. It's about whether the league's integrity itself has been compromised. And if even one of those threads leads back to a corporate hand, the WNBA's credibility could collapse overnight. If these accusations hold even a shred of truth, the ripple effects will reach every corner of the WNBA. This isn't just an Indiana Fever problem. This is a league-wide credibility crisis waiting to explode. Because let's be honest, the WNBA has worked decades to earn respect. They fought for visibility, for equality, for recognition beyond being the women's version of anything. But one scandal like this, it could erase years of progress overnight. If the FBI confirms that a team manipulated injury reports, it shatters the trust between fans, players, and the league. Every official update suddenly becomes suspect. Every injury timeline becomes a marketing tool, and fans, who already battle skepticism from mainstream sports culture, start wondering if any of it is real. Imagine the fallout. Sponsors will hesitate, broadcasters will tighten contracts, betting platforms will demand full transparency reports, and the players, the ones who've built this movement, will be forced to answer for decisions they never made. For Caitlin Clark, this is especially devastating. She's not just the WNBA's most marketable star, she's its symbol. Her name sells out arenas. Her story built a bridge between college fans and pro basketball. But if the public believes her image was used to manipulate outcomes, that bridge burns fast. Meanwhile, for Stephanie White, this could mean career death. Even if she's found innocent, the association with an FBI probe taints her reputation. And if evidence shows she knowingly misled media or players about injuries, she's done. Plain and simple. But here's the real tragedy. This scandal doesn't just hurt Indiana. It hurts the entire WNBA movement. Because while women's basketball is finally enjoying mainstream attention, ESPN slots, sold-out games, celebrity shout-outs, all it takes is one story like this to fuel every lazy critic who says the league isn't serious. And that's the part that stings the most, because the players are serious. They train, they compete, they grind. But if front offices and corporate partners are cutting corners for money, they're betraying everything those players fought to build. So now, fans are asking, what's next? Will the WNBA step in and lead with transparency, or will they protect the brand over the truth? Because make no mistake, the world is watching now, and the next statement from league headquarters could decide the WNBA's entire future. So here we are, the Indiana Fever, once the feel-good story of the WNBA, now stand at the center of a federal storm. What started as whispers about odd injury updates has snowballed into FBI subpoenas, political speculation, and a crisis of trust that the league can't ignore anymore. And honestly, it hurts, because women's basketball was supposed to be thriving right now. Record crowds, record ratings. Caitlin Clark had turned every game into an event. Kids wearing her jersey, arenas chanting her name. But behind that glow, it seems there may have been shadows the public wasn't meant to see. If the reports are true, if injury lists were manipulated to drive ticket sales, pad sponsorships, or swing betting markets, that's not strategy. That's betrayal. Betrayal of the fans, betrayal of the players, and betrayal of the sport itself. Now, the question isn't whether the FBI will find something, it's how deep this goes. Was it just the Fever's front office? Or are there bigger forces, corporate sponsors, league execs, or even outside investors pulling strings behind the curtain? Because at this point, one thing's clear. This investigation could redefine how the WNBA operates. No more vague day-to-day labels. No more silent injuries. No more gambling-driven mystery. The fans deserve truth. The players deserve protection. And the league deserves accountability. But make no mistake, her hoops will be here every step of the way. We'll follow every lead, break down every update, and give you the truth the mainstream sports media won't touch. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the Fever knew exactly what they were doing? Or is this a massive misunderstanding that spiraled out of control? Either way, the spotlight is on Indiana. The clock is ticking. And the truth? It's coming. Whether the league is ready or not, this has been her Hoops, your home for bold takes, real stories, and the drama behind the game. Until next time, stay sharp, stay loud, and never stop asking questions. Out.